God's eternal throne room. Because the sanctuary throne was not in existence in the days of the early Christian church, therefore the throne upon which Stephen saw Christ at the right hand of God, Acts 7 verse 56, could not have been in the sanctuary, wherein is the sea of glass, but rather in paradise, whence flows the river of water of life, and on either side of which is the tree of life. Revelation 22 verse 1 and 2. Very obviously, therefore, the throne which Stephen saw is the throne of God and of the Lamb, the throne permanent and eternal. Round about this glory seat are no beast, no witnesses, no jury, and before it is no candle and no blood to be offered. In short, it stands not in the sin-laden sanctuary, but in paradise. It is the sovereign administrative throne from which the infinite eternally governs his immortal, sinless beings. To this throne, which is from everlasting to everlasting, Christ ascended and thereat sat down at the right hand of his Father until the time came when, in fulfillment of Daniel's prophecy and of John's revelation, sometime after the little horn power came into existence, both he and his Father moved to the sanctuary throne. Upon the latter he does not sit as a king at the right hand of God, but rather before it does he stand both as a sacrificial lamb, Revelation 5 verse 6, and as an intercessor, Daniel 7 verse 13, pleading for sinful human beings. Hence his mediatorial work began. First in the holy, then in the most holy. In the earthly sanctuary, the high priest typifying Christ officiated first in the holy apartment throughout the year, then upon the Day of Atonement, the day of cleansing the sanctuary and judging the people. He officiated in the most holy for one day only, Tuesday, October 22, year 1844, by William Miller and Ellen G. White, Revelation 10 verse 10. This twofold service signifies that in the heavenly sanctuary the high priest, Christ, must necessarily first officiate in the holy apartment up to the antitypical Day of Atonement. Then during that day, he must officiate in the most holy apartment before the throne. Thus the earthly services too repudiate the idea that Christ entered the most holy apartment of the heavenly sanctuary immediately after his ascension. Very plainly, then, the ceremonial system reveals that from the time Christ sat on the right hand of God, Mark 16 verse 19, where the river of water of life is, to the time that he and the Father moved to the throne in the sanctuary, where the sea of glass is, Daniel 7 verse 9 and 10, and Revelation 4 verse 6. He officiated in our behalf as a high priest in the holy place, Hebrew 9 verse 12, and that at the same time conjointly with the Father on the eternal sovereign throne, the throne of God and of the Lamb. He ruled the sinless universe. From the foregoing facts, clear and distinct, the only tenable conclusion to be drawn is that Christ, immediately after his ascension, rather than entering within the veil in the sanctuary, sat down at the right hand of his Father in paradise, and from there carried on his work in the holy apartment of the sanctuary. How clear already the light of truth at last shining forth on this all-important subject of salvation, so long shrouded in the dense fog of human theories and speculations, and how solid is the resultant vindication of the spirit of prophecy's reaffirmation of its position on the subject, that the sanctuary question stands in righteousness and truth, just as we have held it for so many years. Gospel Workers, page 303. Cast not away therefore your confidence, that hath great recompense of reward. For ye have need of patience, that after ye have done the will of God, ye might receive the promise. For yet a little while, and he that shall come will come, and will not tarry. Hebrew 10, verse 35-37. Now of the things which we have spoken this is the sum. We have such an high priest, who is set on the right hand of the throne of the majesty in the heavens, a minister of the sanctuary, and of the true tabernacle which the Lord pitched, and not man. Hebrew 8, verse 1. For Christ is not entered into the holy places made with hands, which are the figures of the true, but into heaven itself, now to appear in the presence of God for us. Hebrew 9, verse 24. Indeed, now once in the end of the world hath he appeared to put away sin by the sacrifice of himself, and as it is appointed to man once to die, but after this the judgment. Hebrew 9, verse 26 and 27. The cleansing of the sanctuary, Daniel 8, verse 14. Plainly, therefore, the judgment is to begin, and the sanctuary to be cleansed, not before but after the fulfillment of the period for those appointed to die. The judging being consistent with the records found in the books of heaven, the names therefore of those who are found unworthy, without a wedding garment on, are blotted from the books. Thus is the sanctuary cleansed. Speaking of the commencement of this work of judging and cleansing, the angel said unto Daniel, until 2,300 days, then shall the sanctuary be cleansed. Daniel 8, verse 14. Tuesday, October 22, year 1844, by William Miller and Ellen White, and Victor Hartev, year 1929. Since the cleansing accordingly takes place at the termination of the 2300 days, and since it is, as we have seen, the judgment, which take place in the end of the world, Hebrew 9, verse 26, consequently the termination of the days and the beginning of the mediatorial judicial work of the Christ are, upon the authority of inspiration itself, time to the end of the world. Hence conclusively the 2300 days do not end in the days of Antiochus Epiphanes, as some teach they do. This untenable position on the subject, along with other similarly unsupportable views on it, therefore makes it necessary, in order to establish the very date of the cleansing, our first dispelling the confusion concerning the 2300 days.